Howdy everyone, Matt here with ESXi Consulting. Here at ESXi, one of our big advantages as consultants is that we design and implement solutions in a super wide range of environments. We see things that are very niche, and we also come across issues that affect a huge swath of our customer base, like the Log4j incident. This video is going to be focusing on that latter again, so VMware customers, listen up. Yeah, VMware ESXi, the standard in enterprise hypervisors. Sure, there's Zen, there's Hyper-V, there's KVM, but by and large, VMware vSphere is the branded tomato you're making your sauce with, and for good reason. Going way back, it wasn't unusual to see full-blown hard drives in your ESXi hosts, consumed by an ESXi install of a few hundred meg. Maybe you use a leftover space for some ISOs or backups, but by and large, it was ESX and that was that. Now, SD cards and USB drives came on strong and made a ton of sense. First of all, these are cheap types of storage, no doubt about it. Saving cost versus buying internal drives was a huge factor. Furthermore, certain server vendors enabled you to connect two SD cards together in a RAID 1 for redundancy. More on that a bit later. Anyway, that's really become a widely used and primary approach for ESXi installs, which is great, right? Well, the problem, right? Remember how I said these options were cheap? Yeah, very cheap. These things fail. Yeah. How many of you have had one of an SD card or a USB drive fail on you? And why did it have to be yesterday, right? Well, VMware is finally tired of it as well. And in the process has thrown us all a bit of a brushback pitch with vSphere 7 Update 3. Now, if you're just running ESXi on USB or SD cards, you're now considered to be in a degraded situation if you're running vSphere 7 Update 3. vCenter will yell at you, and while ESXi will still run, you'll be doing so unsupported by VMware should things go sideways. I wouldn't be surprised to see this method completely eliminated from the next version of vSphere, but right now, just deprecated, lots of warnings and all of that. So what are our options? Well, there's really two main answers here, but I can really only recommend one of them. And in that case, in that recommended case, you have a few options there, right? Still with me? No? Good. Option one, the not favored option. I do not recommend this. Add a local disk or disks to supplement the USB or SD card. So you keep your ESXi install. It's technically supported. ESXi remains on the SD card or the USB drive, but the high I/O stuff that especially vCenter 7 introduces, like the scratch partition and logs, those have existed, but vSphere 7 does more things. They leverage the persistent storage media, the more enterprise resilient media. Like I said, it's also still supported, but it's considered legacy as well, which means you're already staring down the barrel of an ESXi install soon enough. So you're making all these changes only to have more work right ahead of you. So now my preferred option, add a local disk or disks, yet migrate your install from the SD or USB cards and dump the cards. I mean, you don't have to technically dump them, but we won't be using them for anything in this scenario after the migration. We reinstall ESXi on the disks, migrate the configuration, and now we're in VMware's and our recommended configuration with the guarantee of long-term support. That's nice, right? We don't have another set of work 6 months ahead of us. Now, remember how I said there were a few flavors of my preferred option, and also how I said I'd be talking about RAID 1 a bit later? Later is now. Now is later. Now and late. Candy. I'm sorry. So the options for the local disk are aplenty. You can go with a single SSD, you can go with a single traditional hard drive. More modern solution would be using like an M2, say a boot device. Those are cool. They're kind of tailor-made for this scenario. Or you could go down Complex Alley over there and set up some LUNs and do boot from SAN. Any one of these will work. But if you decide to go with local disk, you'll have a decision to make regarding resiliency of those disks. Now, just putting a single disk into each ESXi host is a cost, but it's a modest one, right? We can manage that. Start adding 2 drives and then a RAID controller for those drives if you don't already have one to set up RAID 1. Now you're talking some solid dollars, and now how many servers do you have? Multiply it. It can get expensive. So I'd be happy to chat with anyone about my thoughts on this, and I have a few. But it comes down to how much value you place on putting a RAID 1 behind an OS that boots into RAM and runs from there. Yes, as aforementioned, we talked about VMware leveraging that for scratch and stuff like that, but ultimately you could lose a drive and ESXi would still run. Really, the resiliency in the RAID group protects you against having to reinstall the OS in case of a drive failure. That's about really all you're saving. So do you value the management overhead that takes? Maybe it's not worth it to you. It's your decision, but we're happy to chat with you with it. So, I mean, that's the long and short of it. And unfortunately, this issue needs to be addressed now if you're looking at vSphere 7. It's been around for almost 2 years now. vSphere 7 has, and now update 3. And folks who are running 6.5 or 6.7 still are probably at this point looking at that upgrade process. And this is a new wrinkle to what this traditional cycle looks like. I'd encourage everybody to reach out to their favorite iVoxy consultant and chat about the next steps. As I've said, we've helped out a bunch of folks already with this process, so we're well aware of all of the pitfalls, where the bodies are buried, etc. So thanks again for listening. We hope everybody has a good day. Happy virtualizing.